This is my Peugeot 307 2007, the facelift model 1.6 petrol version TU5 JP4. And if you're experiencing opening and closing the boot randomly, and every time you unlock the car, open the door and the boot slightly opens, this is a video what the problem is, how you can potentially fix it, and it's fairly easy. Stay tuned. So in essence, the problem is the rubber kind of spring on the contact here behind this. So you have to remove the button, the mechanism that opens the boot. First of all, you open the boot. And in order to gain access to that mechanism, you have to remove that plastic cowling. It has two bolts here, one bolt here and one bolt there, and then it's simply pulling it out. So there are two Torx bolts, one on that side and one on the other side, and this is Torx 20. You simply unscrew it, and the same thing on the other side. Next thing, to remove that, you simply pull it out from both sides, simply from here and from there until it unclicks. There are several clips on that metal that go on the metal, so yeah, try to be careful, but you have to basically pull it out. Something like that. Undo it from that side, and then from the rest you pull it slightly like that, and then from the other side. And this comes out. And simply these are these metal hooks. And this is how this cowling looks like. You have these metal clips that you simply pull it out and then clip them on. The same everywhere, so they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think they're 8 altogether. So you simply pull them out from this. So once you've pulled the cowling out, it looks like that. All the mechanisms for the wiper and so on. And now you have access to the bolts for that, the latch mechanism for the boot. And that's how the mechanism looks like. You've got two bolts in there in the middle. The plug, the contact for unlocking and locking the boot. So you need to undo the plug and then the two bolts, or two nuts, not bolts. So what you can do, instead of, because it's very tight space, this is very tight, my fingers are probably a bit too thick to undo the plug, you can take the two bolts, then remove the whole latch, the whole clip, and then unplug the plug from the outside of the car. Much easier than doing it here, or you can do it on here. So these two nuts are 10mm socket, so you undo those. What you can do now, you have to squeeze these two plastic bits here and there in order to pull out the whole thing, so it's outside of the car, and you can unplug it from out there. So that's, I haven't closed the boot, it's slightly open, don't close it, otherwise it's very difficult to open. So you can take this out, and of course you unplug it, squeeze it down here, and it should come out. There we go. That's now, the plug is now open, and you have the whole mechanism for the door opening. So this is the mechanism for opening the boot. You press it down underneath here, and it presses that bit, and you can hear it. The switch in behind here. So you have to dismantle it, of course. First of all, there is a gasket, there is a rubber gasket here. Don't rip it, you take it off. Don't rip it, because this prevents water coming through the through this mechanism into your mine is slightly broken down here, but put it aside because you reuse it again. Next thing, there is this plastic all around, that particular plastic that has to be taken off, and I generally wouldn't use metal, but it's kind of easier with the metal. So you push somewhere around here on that side until it kind of unclicks from this side, and then from that one as well, somewhere around here, and it's fairly easy to remove. So that slides off, and then you have access to the whole mechanism and the switch. So that's the mechanism, and simply you pull this latch. So you pull that from that side, and this should simply move away. So what's the principle? There is a button here down there. I hope you can see it. It's down here, that when you press on that thing, that mechanism like that, this little button presses on that button here, the switch, and you can hear it probably, and that gives a signal to open and close. So there is this rubber, little rubber, that from dirt and so on gets stuck, and this is kind of doesn't release backwards, and from the shaking of the car, locking and unlocking, this presses only slightly, doesn't push down, or this kind of gets stuck, doesn't release, and you get this random opening and closing. So what you can do is, of course, take that rubber, I'll have a zoom version, and wash it out. Well, and of course wash out the whole thing, every little piece. That's pretty clean. I don't think it needs any washing. So once you've washed the rubber, it's like a very fine rubber membrane that has a hole at the beginning. Well, it's like a spring type, but from rubber, and you might have lost it or something, that particular rubber. What one can do, of course, put a few washers, like a rubber O-ring, small rubber O-rings underneath this to make a better contact. But I've cleaned that one, cleaned that plastic, and it works. It has stopped the boot randomly opening. So that particular piece here has a cut, the button here has a cut here in the plastic. You probably can't quite see it in the camera. The rubber has a hole in there, so you need to push it in order to stick there and not to lose it. So you kind of stick it in there, try not to lose it. If it jumps somewhere, it's a bit fiddly, but you have to stick it in to get into the groove. There you go. That's in now, in the groove, and you have to spread it a little bit. There we go. That's in the groove now. There is a groove down here. You can push it aside and so on, so it has to be kind of central to there, and that's it. That's the button, and it pushes back. It pushes back, and then you have to fit it back in. Simply this slots that side towards that button, so you simply push it down into the groove and slot it in. You kind of have washed, hopefully you have washed everything, because it makes things easier. And then, of course, to make sure that it works, you press it a few times and it has to click and not just stop clicking. That means that it's working. Next thing, put that piece back on. Hopefully you've washed it. I washed it, but it's quite dirty. So that goes in that slot there. Goes in that slot there. And then you press these two sides, and it has clicked in. And then you have the whole kind of mechanism. Double check that it's working. Then put your gasket on. Don't forget it, otherwise you might have a leaking boot coming with water everywhere around here. And that's it. Next, put it on the car and test it. And simply, this is it. That particular mechanism is just dirt from driving and so on, dirt, and this rubber doesn't release unless your switch is completely broken and then doesn't make a contact, and you can replace the switch. But mine was randomly opening, unlocking the door, opening the door, and slightly your boot is open. It has a message that the boot is open. You have to go down and close it. Sometimes it doesn't close. You have to slam it a few times. Next thing is to put it back on, and it's simply the same thing. You plug in the switch, the switch, and just make sure that it works. And when you press it, it opens the boot. Next, you press it in. You might as well wash a little bit around here. Put it back in, then open it, screw the two nuts, and putting back the cowling. Next is to put the two nuts. Make sure that it's nice and secure, and push it from the outside. Mine is pushed as far as you can go. Next, the left nut. And of course, tightening, don't tighten it too much. It's all plastic. I will do it kind of finger tight first. And it should be nice and secure. It's not really that much tightened. I mean, it won't fall away. And finally is to put the cowling in, and that's the big piece. So it's like that, and you have to marry the two parts. There is a cut here on that side, like a groove that goes inside here, and you have to clip it, and that's the most difficult part before pushing it in. These two, that side is the most difficult, and then just simply push it in to click on all bits and pieces and screw the two bolts. And this is it, of course. You then close the boot, and of course make sure that you can open it, of course. And this is it. I was definitely clicking so many times. I've come out of the opening the door. This thing opens, the boot opens, then I have to go back, close it. Sometimes it doesn't, I have to do it second time. I was unlocking the car and this was popping out. The boot was always popping out, so I have to go back and close it. So cleaning that particular rubber there and the rest of the mechanism definitely fixes the random opening of the boot. Hope that it's useful to someone. Thank you very much indeed for watching.